We've been getting quite a bad leak in the spare tyre well in the Golf. After bad weather, we've found up to 1 inch of water sloshing around in here. Apparently there's a common leak at these vents, which are inside the bumper. So I'll try to fix that in this video. So this video will cover removing the body side taillights and removing the bumper. Which could be useful for a whole bunch of other reasons, of course, but I would say that if you're taking the bumper off for any other reason, you'd probably best check these vents at the same time anyway. I needed interior access first to get at the taillights. You could also take off this trim to try to see where the water's coming from if it's still wet. This plastic trim just pulls off the usual Volkswagen metal clips. It pulls off inward. You don't need to take out the whole piece, just the top 2 clips are enough because all that's required is to get access to start peeling back the carpet cladding. Now that should be held in place by these black plugs which are supposed to go in those holes that you can see there, those rings. Some of them were missing on this car though, but do watch out for them. I removed this little cubbyhole plastic to allow more flex, and it will all just pull away easily enough. You need about this much access. That is the inside of the tail light there. See, here's the outside. And I'll unscrew that plug. This is also our first look at the leaky vent as well. You can see the inside of it down here. These vents allow the car to avoid overpressure when a door is slammed shut. They have little rubber flaps which open up in that case, but they tend to leak around the body hole, and unfortunately they're positioned inside the bumper, so the only way to reach them is to take it off. So firstly, the tail light. It is only held in by this plastic screw clamp, which uses this spring like a sort of suspension strut to provide compression against the light foam seal. You just unscrew that screw by hand, although it can be stiff if it hasn't been worked before. Once you've got that out, the tail light will just pull out backward. So that foam seal just surrounds where the tail light enters the car body, and this is another place it might be leaking, so you could test that. I didn't see any evidence of that here, but it's something to consider. And you could, of course, spray water at the car and try to see where it leaks inside once you've got that trim off so you can see. Right, next the bumper. Starting at the wheel well. It's easier to get at these screws with the wheel removed and the car raised like this. Really, I only have it like this because I was doing a brake job at the same time, but it wouldn't strictly be necessary. You might just need a Torx bit on a little ratchet so you can get around the wheel, and it might be a bit more fiddly. Speaking of Torx, you'll need just a T20 driver for all of these. Volkswagen made something easy for once, as every screw head on the bumper is the same. There are 3 screws up the wheel arch here, and there is a 4th one hiding at the top, which goes in sideways through a little bracket. And this screw is different to the others, so don't mix them up. The others are all the same. This is the little bracket it uses. It fell off for me and I nearly lost it, so just pay attention to that. Then there is a 5th screw at the bottom corner here, and it's the same on the other side, of course. And then there are just 2 along the bottom middle, and that is all the fittings. It will pull off now, but you'll want to be careful not to damage the plastic clips it uses at the top. I've got this plastic trim tool which is helpful. There are a bunch of clips along the top at the tail light joint, which you can see, and a bunch along the wheel arch joint which you can't see. Lastly, there's this fairly complicated looking double clip arrangement at the inside near the hatch, which is quite tight, and it took some fighting, but you just lever it up and pull backward at the same time and it will come. And once it's given up, then the bumper will come away, but be careful because there will be wiring. At the very least, you're going to have a cable which runs to the license plate light, but if you've got reversing sensors and that sort of thing, then they'll be in there as well, so take care. This car's got this aftermarket reversing camera which has been bodged in here, and the wiring was far too short, so had to take care of that. Anyway, these are the vents. They are held in with 2 clips, top and bottom, which you can hurt your fingers on if you reach inside and push hard enough. They'll just pop out. So water shouldn't go through the flappy bits because they're obviously designed to direct it down and away. But they have these rubber seals around the outsides, and I've actually read that some cars have foam seals. Either way, I think they're just not sufficient, or they get damaged or dried up or whatever over time. The design of the frame, I think, just doesn't compress them tightly enough against the car body. Also, you can see here on this car where the water is directed from up higher. You can see these really obvious trails of dirt residue from a stream of water that I think better design would see you not direct the water directly at the rubber seals rather than having to rely on them for this. Anyway, it can be fixed. So I gave all this a good clean. Notice I put a rag inside the vent hole just to keep the bulk of this cleaning water out of the car and away from the electrics. Just some soap and water to get rid of all this year's worth of gunk. And later on I also cleaned, particularly around the vent frames with alcohol, because I'm going to silicone directly onto that paint. I also gave the vents and their seals a good clean off camera, and once dry I put them back together and got squeezing with the silicone sealant. I certainly wouldn't discard the seal, because even if it's leaking, it is the thing that the vent sits against, and I also didn't want to try to replace it, although you could. So what I did was put a thin bead of sealant directly onto the inside edge here, trying to stay clear of the seal itself so as to not make too much of a mess, and then put them back in place. And that bead around the outside edge should already seal it around the exterior of the rubber, so water won't even be getting as far as the original seal in the future. But to make sure, I went around the perimeter again and did a second pass. Neat and tidy is good, of course, but this can't be seen. Obviously it's hidden by the bumper once it's back on, so I don't think there's any great need to worry too much about that. Right, so that shouldn't leak anymore. Now to put the bumper back on. It quite simply goes back on in reverse of removal. No need to belabor the point too much. I'll just say take your time and be careful, as it is possible to make mistakes. In the middle here at the top there are these clips inside the bumper which must fit between those receiving clips on the body side. You can see them there. You could miss them and then it will sit too high. You want to check when you close the hatch that the gap is correct. Just make sure that the hatch doesn't hit anything when it closes. Now, as before, make sure that this clip is in place on both sides, the metal clip on both sides, before you put the screw in. This one is also the only place where you might have a small amount of adjustment possible to get the panel gaps correct. You can sort of push or pull the bumper a little bit in and out just at this one point, so you can just feel that the bumper's flush to the quarter panel as you tighten up the screw. And then do the others, the 3 down the arch, the one at the bottom corner, and the 2 in the middle at the bottom, and of course the same on the other wheel arch. These plastic clips, I found that some of ours were damaged. This one here, for example, had been jammed in on the wrong side of the clip and broken in the process. I think originally the bumper wouldn't have been sitting quite right here. You can see it wants to go outside instead of inside, where it should be. This will be because of the same idiots who installed the reversing camera. They've just bodged all this in a hurry with no care for anything. Which is why you're DIYing it, isn't it? Even if you pay the so-called professionals, this is what you get. So I had to muck around with this to sort of rebend the plastic with a screwdriver into the right place and push it home at the same time. And even though that one clip is broken, it does still hold in there quite nicely, and the panel gaps all look fine. The tail light has these plastic rails which it has to sort of train into. Just make sure you get them in the right place, and then they just push home. Don't forget to plug the connector back in. And then these plastic clamp screws, because they were so stiff and they might scratch up the paint, you know, where they turn, I just put a little silicone grease onto that surface just to lubricate them a bit. And then they go back in, and I think the idea is you turn them basically until they stop. Then all that carpet trim can go back into place. I won't show it all. There are these black plugs though, which retain it at the edges under the plastic trim. And then putting those the plastic trim back in, those metal clips, they take quite a lot of pressure to get them to go back in. You really have to push. And it's quite satisfying. You get a nice bang out of them when they do go. At least they're not plastic. I put all the bits and pieces back. I also had a go at cleaning the carpeted flooring insert because I was worried a bit about mold. I could see a little bit of mold on the paper labels. If it spent much time damp, then that will be an issue. Firstly, I sprayed it with a vinegar mixed with water just to try to kill any mold without doing any bleach damage to the carpet. And I also had a go at it then after that with some proper carpet cleaner. Then let it all dry out outside, and I was done. Alright, so that is how you fix that particular water leak. It's how you remove the tail lights, and it's how you remove the bumper. So now you can DIY. I hope that was helpful. Have fun.